Hello, this is Francis from McCaffrey's Crafts, and today I thought I'd have a chat about how technology and the internet is saving the Blackthorn business, and it is actually to be looked at quite favorably because it is enhancing and creating a business around Irish crafts. Because look, I'll even just kind of give you a little background to myself. Like back when I started doing the walking sticks, say 2006, after I kind of returned home from traveling, as most young men do. And back then, there wasn't many ways to sell blackthorn. Like you had to go to the markets, you had to go to the fairs, you had to set up a stall, and you could only really do this during the summer months. And then if it was raining in Ireland quite heavily during these summer months, not many people would go to these fairs, and you wouldn't sell too much. So as a blackthorn seller, that was really the only kind of option to do that. And I can kind of talk about how it was sold in the past as well. It was the same, that if you look out throughout history, and in Killarney, like, there's Johnny the Sticks, a very famous blackthorn maker, and on the road to Ross Castle, he used to just set up his stall there and sell blackthorn. And he's featured in many postcards of Killarney, from like 100 years ago and stuff. So that was the only way of selling, and it was sold predominantly to the tourist industry. So tourists would come to Killarney, they'd drive the Ring of Kerry, and the blackthorn makers around here would usually try to sell outside of a tourist site or something like that. So the selling season was very limited. It wasn't really quite a lot to do. You'll see some little documentaries of guys in the 80s with their selling their blackthorns, and mostly they're doing it out of their home, and their home is on some kind of driving route that's driving through a particular kind of tourist area. And that was the kind of thing in Ireland. People would come, they do a driving route, stay in a B&B or a guest house, and that's kind of how people used to kind of come and see Ireland. So to sell blackthorn, it was quite seasonal, and the avenues was limited. Alternatively, you could give your sticks to a tourist shop who would resell them, but because of the margins and markup, the shopkeepers would want the blackthorn for a very cheap price. They want the blackthorn for as cheap as possible for selling it, and they wouldn't sell it no more than like 10, 15 euro or 10 pounds at the time. And so they'd only be wanting it for a few euros. So it wasn't really a business. Most Blackthorn Shillelagh makers would have had a full-time job and would be doing this then as a side hustle, as you would say, just for an extra bit of cash in hand type of money. And again, look, that was kind of the culture within Ireland, that people would have a job and they might have some other little side thing going, especially during the kind of tourist season, and it'd all be like a cash business. So they wouldn't be too vocal, and they wouldn't promote it too well. So the blackthorn selling industry was almost, you can say, a kind of underground thing, in that it wasn't really publicized, and the only people that were vocal about it would have been maybe a shopkeeper or a shop that was selling, that were of course paying their taxes and were selling it to tourists. So the blackthorn business, it wasn't a business. It was very hard. And the thing about the blackthorn business is that even in the olden days, you'd have a seller from a region, and in a few years they would be doing something else. Like there was no longevity to making blackthorn sticks. Now, like every household as well, and most families would make one themselves. Like there's pretty much blackthorn everywhere, and whenever someone wanted a blackthorn, they would just go take it out of the ditch, make one themselves. So again, like it's predominantly got famous from the faction fighting, from the stick of choice, for the history of it as well. Old fellas used to have it. They used to go to the fairs holding their blackthorn. The farmers used to have their sticks. They used to hit the kids, of course, that were out of line with the sticks, and some boisterous kids were kept in line with the sticks as well. So it's kind of important to kind of know about this, and how like blackthorn has been sold, like, beforehand. And like, that's why there's a good opportunity now to revive this as a proper craft and a proper business, because without people like myself succeeding, it's not going to motivate the next generation of people to make Blackthorn. Because if they don't see a few people out there who are able to have a living from it, then they're not going to do it. Like, even myself, as I go back, like, it was 2006, 7. I'd go out to some of the markets, the car booths, the fairs. I'd be selling some that I'd be making on the side, usually just for just a nixer type of job. Like, I'd have my main job. Like, I'd been involved in Irish crafts for a number of years as a kind of marketing manager, selling various like knitwear, and I worked for woolen mills before, and various things. So that was when I returned. I'll go through my history as well, because I've had quite an interesting job history to get to here. And I'll go through that in another video. But as I was saying, I was just going through the markets. Wasn't making a lot of money selling the Blackthorn, wasn't really a job or anything. And it was with the advent of the internet that you'd see that that it started to become more interesting. If it wasn't for the internet, like, I wouldn't have a business. I can connect with people around the world. What was very important was to be found on the internet. So once you can be found, then you can try to develop a business. Like, that's why I make these videos. So if people search for Blackthorn, they try to find me. I have my website up on the first page in Google for Blackthorn stick search, or Blackthorn walking stick searches, as well as shillelaghs with an S search. So you really do have to kind of thank the internet for what it's done for developing Blackthorn as a business. You can take a picture on your phone now, you can upload, you can connect many people, you have social networks. So the main problem in the olden days was trying to meet the people who are interested in Blackthorn, people who understand the history about the faction fighting, understand the rarity of getting the stick, understand the time, the effort, the blood, sweat and tears that goes into a stick, that this stick is considered quite associated with Ireland. Of course, Blackthorn grow in other areas as well, but the Blackthorn is synonymous with Irish, just as the shamrock is synonymous with Irish. Like, the Blackthorn stick was given to Muhammad Ali when he came to Ireland, or Bill Clinton when he came to Ireland, or Kennedy came. So the Blackthorn was always kind of seen as a kind of strong symbol of Ireland, the fighting stick and stuff. And of course, over the years, the image of Blackthorn has got a bit mangled by paddywhackery and leprechauns, and it was kind of seen as a tacky tourist kind of again, I keep showing this thing. I should get rid of it. It's always under my table here. It's like shocking. I wouldn't even put that in my shop, man. I'd be embarrassed. But so like, it's an interesting journey of how Blackthorn is, and like, I'm really trying to develop it as a business, and I hope I can succeed. Like, it doesn't help when pandemics happen or no tourist comes into your shop. But again, if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't be getting through this pandemic. It's you guys out there that are stuck at home, and you're looking at things to do. You're watching podcasts, you're watching YouTube, you see the history of the Blackthorn, and with your hard-earned cash that is I can appreciate how hard it is even to get money in. You're buying my craft and you're helping me stay in business, and I have to thank you guys for that. And again, look, I'm going to try to encourage people as much as possible. And if I can get through this pandemic, which depending how long it lasts, like, if I can get through this summer, which is looking like I can, and then if I can get the Christmas run, which will usually be good, that will tie me over till next March time when St. Patrick's Day comes. And then if I can get through that point, I should be okay. But that's kind of a little introduction of how the internet has been very beneficial to Blackthorn makers and shillelagh makers. Thank you.